And a lot of people who have the pretty, you don't know what to do with yourself. This is why I say that you have to have a level of acumen. You have to have a level of strategy. Being pretty without a strategy is literally like bringing a knife to a gunfight. You're going to need a little bit more. Looks maxing, beauty maxing, pretty privilege. For what? For skittles? To be first in line to be mistreated? Pretty is what pretty does, and pretty doesn't amount to privilege unless you have a purpose. There's a lot of people out here that are talking about pretty privilege, trying to get some pretty privilege, really invested in the idea of pretty and where it can take you. And I'm here to talk about it today. I'm going to talk about pretty privilege. What is it? Who is it for? How you can get some? What are the misconceptions? And how you can actually use your pretty privilege to create purpose and productivity and prosperity for yourself in your life. So if that sounds like something that you are interested in, then you are in the right place. To all of my subbies, welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Kiya, and over here we smell good and elevate. We talk about fragrance, fashion, lifestyle, and all things involving womanhood and stepping into womanhood as the woman that you know that you are supposed to be. In addition to our fragrance videos, we have a signature woman series running on this channel, and this video will be a continuation. And what a signature woman is a woman who shows up polished, put together, embodied in her essence, and her energy is felt by those around her. She has signatures of her style, signatures of her character, signatures of her personality, and those are expressed by way of how she puts herself together and delivers her essence. So if that sounds like something that you are also interested in, definitely make sure that you subscribe to the channel so you do not miss another video. We are a channel full of fragrance lovers, and you're never fully dressed without a fragrance. So let me go ahead and give y'all my combo of the day. I went in with this Golden Goddess oil from a brand called the Spell Garden. Y'all know I love to support me a business from a women or a women's. This is a rendition of Serosa 62, so it has that pistachio sweetness, sun-kissed vibe. Absolutely love it. And then I went in with the Kiya pistachio, which is the rendition of the Kayali Yum pistachio. It smells so good. It has a crisp freshness, and it's a perfect gourmand for the summer season because it has a freshness but still that sweet gourmand and nutty pistachio vibe. I cannot get enough. And then our candle of the day, as y'all can see, it is burning beautifully in the background from my brand, The October Song. It is our Quiet Luxe candle. This is a beautiful blend of lavender and linen with a slight warmth. It smells very clean, polished, like a Sunday reset. It's giving all of the cozy feels and a freshness, and it just adds a very effortlessly luxe vibe to your home. So definitely go ahead and check out my website, theoctobersong.com, and shop my luxury high note candle collection for your scent pleasures. So yes, pretty privilege is real, but I feel like the way that it's portrayed and the reasons why people want it and go about getting it are very obscure in today's age, and how the conversation is being had, because there's a right and a wrong way to love somebody, and there's a right way to pretty privilege. So we're going to talk about it. First off, let's define privilege. I had to pull my iPad out for this one because I want to give a definition, because I don't know if people are operating off of the same definition of what a privilege actually is. So when I asked Google the definition of privilege, it says a privilege is a special right, advantage, or immunity granted to a particular person, group, or class. So let's remember that, hold that thought. Then I went ahead and I said, well, what is the definition of pedestal? So it gave me the definition of pedestal as the base that supports the foot of a column of a statue or a vase. Okay, we know that. But the colloquial definition of pedestal, or to put someone on a pedestal, it is to idolize or view someone as flawless or superior. Now, I think a lot of y'all think y'all want pretty privilege, but y'all really want pretty pedestalization. And the reason I say that is because notice how the definition of privilege had to do with an advantage. Where do we hear about advantages? in games, in sports, in arenas of business, right? Where do we hear about immunity, okay, or rights? These are things that have a strategic undertone and connotation to them, meaning that somewhere along the lines, they actually amount to something, and there's a little bit more that goes into it to attain or maintain a privilege, right? Versus being on a pedestal. I think a lot of people need to understand that privilege can be created by anybody, and I'm going to get into that, but pedestalization is not something that you really want, though that is what most people are after, and I'm going to get into why. However, just know that the pedestalization to detestation pipeline is really strong. It is alive and well, and I think that's where some of the conversations of, oh, pretty, and pretty people are bullied, and pretty punishment, all of that stuff starts to, come into the chat. But let's go ahead and break it down. So the second part of the privilege definition says that privilege functions as a benefit not universally enjoyed, whether earned through effort or provided by earned societal circumstances. Now, earn was used twice in that definition, and so this is what I want to talk about, because prettification and beautification are skills that you can use to get yourself pretty privileged. This is the idea of making yourself look polished, put together, showing up with a certain type of presentation, a certain type of aesthetic, creating a certain level of allure because it shows and demonstrates competency. This is what we talk about on this channel when we talk about, putting your style together. But I always say make sure it matches your unique, profile, your unique essence, because that's the way that you're going to get more out of it. Watch the rest of the videos in the Signature Woman series to learn more about this, because we don't do cookie cutter femininity. It's not a one size fits all situation. Each woman is unique and needs to lean into her own essence. That in and of itself is what gets you lasting pretty privilege, because it is tied into the way that you are felt, the way that you show up, your level of competency for yourself, and then the way that others view you. The reason I bring up prettification and beautification as a skill is because it demonstrates a level of competency, and what that means is it's not always about the canvas that you start with. It's not always about, oh, Ashley is prettier than Janae, or Lisa looks better than, Tati, whatever the case is. No, it's about who is putting themselves together, who is taking the time and signaling to the world that they value beauty, that they value pretty, that they value the effort that it takes, in the idea and the rigor of presenting oneself in a way outside of just, the natural way. We value that in society because, like I said, though we try to make it superficial, it shows a level of skill, competency, and it shows what your values are. We could talk about plastic surgery and say that's superficial, or Botox injections is superficial. It don't matter. To be a surgeon, you have to have a level of skill and precision to inject Botox into the right muscle so that somebody's face ain't split down the middle. You have to know what the procedures are and which muscles to avoid and veins to inject it in, or what not to do. However that process works. Would you like to go down to the slaughterhouse and see a cow being skinned and the blood being rinsed off and dried in the sun? Do you want to see the sights and smell the smells, or would you prefer to just go to the store, shop through the window, and pick up your nice luxury leather bag and take a cute little picture of it on Instagram? So this is what I'm saying, that prettification and beautification all requires a level of skill. You see what I'm saying? And no matter how you try to make it seem superficial, it's actually deeper than that. And we all know that in society. So we can go ahead and get that out of the way. There is a quote that goes, put yourself in the way of beauty. You can catch beauty like a cold, and you can catch it like a vibe. Beauty is an essence. Beauty is something that you can feel. Anybody can get privilege from being pretty or beautiful by putting themselves in the way of beauty, practicing the skill and the art of prettifying and beautifying things. And we all know that beauty is a big industry, because you can take a freaking skin of a cow that is bloodied up and then turn it into something that is a craft that people are desiring, that people want to wear. You market it, you dress it up, you put it on a model, and all of a sudden this is a product that is worth thousands of dollars. So it's not about the starting point, it's about the skill and the presentation of getting to the pretty and getting to the beauty that anybody can practice in order to give themselves privilege. Now, so the person who is pretty, by their actions, they can earn the privilege. Great. So now that we're pretty, what are the privileges? I'm asking you. Because I don't think a lot of people actually know what the privileges are of being pretty. I know what some of them are, and I can share them with you today based off of my perspective. And my life is a limited perspective, but I'm willing to share it with you today. But we talk a lot about being a signature woman on this channel, and one thing a signature woman is not is a goofy. And a lot of times social media has a very perverse and goofy way of presenting topics. Social media will make you think that you want to be pretty just for the sake of people adoring you, and then for you to be adored. And then that's where the pedestalization that I talked about earlier comes in. When you allow people to put you on a pedestal for anything, for your beauty, whatever it is, people want to pull the rug from you. People want to humble you, or as easily as they put you up there, they're looking for the moment to where they can and bring you down. And the reason I say a lot of people don't want privileges, they want pedestalization, is because you don't know what you are actually seeking to be pretty for. You don't know what the benefits are and how they translate into actual things that amount to something greater in terms of enhancing your life. Y'all know the saying that goes, when preparation meets opportunity, that's what luck actually is. Pretty privilege is the same way. When preparation meets opportunity and you get a benefit from it, you have a privilege. But if you haven't prepared and you're presented with something just off of the basis of your looks or whatever it is, you're likely being put on a pedestal, and that's something that you want to reject. And here is an example of that. The example that they use and say, oh, being beautiful, it can get you promotions faster than going back to school. Great, but that already introduces a level of competency, that you are in a position and that you're in a field and that you know a certain skill. And then by the time that you've taken the time to be pretty, to present yourself in a certain way, somebody might look favorably on you over the next person who might be just as qualified, but you are qualified, maybe a little bit less qualified, but you're still in the room and you have the pretty, so you get the opportunity. That's what a privilege is, something that actually translates into an enhanced version of your life. When I say reject the pedestal, that's a long-term thing. Privileges can be long-term, but pedestalization, if you want to reap the benefits of being on a pedestal here and there and for a short period of time, that's fine. But a lot of time, the privilege that y'all think y'all are getting, that y'all are seeking, is really to be first in line to be mistreated. It's first in line for some BS. Y'all think pretty privilege is, oh, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna be in a man's face, and so you got dressed up to be pretty, you put all this time and effort into yourself to give a man the opportunity to talk to you and maybe buy you some food. And then what? Maybe you start dating this man and y'all go on dates and stuff, and he always pays for your food, and 3 months down the line you've gained 10 pounds. Where's the privilege? Like the privilege of getting to eat food with this man, the privilege of this man finding you pretty enough for him to give you food. And I'm not minimizing any of those things or saying that there are anything wrong with those inherently, but there is more that you can reach for in terms of privilege when it comes to the pretty. See, a lot of women are following social media and they don't even know the options that are available. They're not setting their own options or using pretty privilege on their own terms to reap the benefits that are specific to them. Y'all just think, oh, I want to, cut the line and then get into the club and go into a section with these guys and let them pour Casa Amigos down my throat and have sparklers and be standing above everybody in the club. And then what? Like, be first in line to leave the establishment and do sex with a random man. Not saying that that's always what happens or that's what you have to do, but a lot of times these are the opportunities that are being offered, and unless you are able to thwart them or abort them, or you already have it in your mind that certain things have certain exchanges and there's things that you're just not going to be a part of, a lot of young women specifically are going to be sadly mistaken as to what the pretty amounts to. The example that I just gave is the prime example of pedestalization, wanting to have the option to be seen as superior to or above other certain types of people. Now, if you're able to meet people and they can introduce you to other people that you can network with, that can give you career advice, that can give you business advice, that can help you to elevate and put you in rooms and make connections. I've had that experience as well, but that is what the pretty is for. The pretty is not for you to just be cute and then a man to slide in your DMs and then him to offer to fly you out somewhere, or for y'all to go on vacation together and then what? You in another country or in another state with a man. Personally, for me, I don't see the privilege in that unless, you ain't never been nowhere before. And again, I say this to say all women can do whatever they want to do. And that's on having two titties and a pussy. Like, you are a grown woman, do what you want to do. But what I'm saying is a lot of the pretty privilege conversation is a result of whack social media comparisons. As always, when the pretty privilege needs to be specific to you, define your values and what you value and what privileges you want to experience in life, and not just these skittle versions of pretty privilege that's being presented to you on social media. When I say Skittles, do y'all remember when we were kids and it would be like a kid on the playground with a bag of chips, or a kid on the playground, they would have a bag of Skittles, and because they had that, they were popular, and then everybody wanted some of their Skittles, and then maybe, they would be being stingy and they might give some Skittles to one person or another, but you really wanted some Skittles so bad that you would ask a child who was playing on the playground to give you one of the Skittles that the person with the Skittles bag gave you. So now you held out your hand and accepted a sweaty little Skittle from a child, and you ate it because you were so thirsty to have some Skittles. This is what the pretty privilege is amounting to that they are presenting to y'all. It's Skittles. And now let me say this. The previous two examples that I gave are things that I've observed. I used to live in Atlanta, y'all. I have a lot of stories. I've seen a lot of things, but trying to be flown out and, those crazy club scenarios and stuff like that, they don't have nothing to do with me. But here, I got something for you as well, because a lot of times we'll be like, yeah, no, don't do that. Pretty privilege. These girls don't know what they're talking about. But let's amp it up a little bit. Let's start playing on hard mode, because I've also been into situations where it's a seemingly like wealthy person, not wealthy that they're not wealthy. They might actually be wealthy. They might actually give you the opportunity to be in certain rooms. But then as a result of what? A lot of these people too, still, they want to treat you like a little trinket. They want to show you off because you are pretty. There's a lot of misconceptions about wealth, about beauty and everything like that. And what y'all have to understand is beauty, pretty, all that type of stuff like that, it can get you in a room, but you got to have a little bit of something else underneath, because to kind of shake the haters off and let them be like, watch out. A lot of times when you are pretty, you have to have the brains as well. You have to have the acumen, because that is how you see women who are pretty get chewed up and spit out when they don't have a strategy. Their brains are not turned on and they don't have another skill or acumen to back up the pretty. Like, this is what I am here to tell you, because this is why I always say too, don't fall in the trap of like building yourself up just for the sake of trying to get into rooms and trying to know certain people who you can network with. I've been around a lot of wealthy people. From the time I was 20 years old, the first job that I had, I was in a leadership development program, and my mentor was the SVP of the company, meaning once a week or twice a month, I would go in his office, the SVP, and we would have conversations. I would ask him questions. He was a wealthy, man. So obviously that was almost 10 years ago, and I've been in better situations, met better people, built upon my skills and everything. Okay. And so what I'm trying to tell you is a lot of the information that people are telling y'all about wealthy people, wealthy men, and all of these different types of things, they're just flat out wrong about it. Okay, because a wealthy person will still try to pedestalize you for being pretty. A person with connections will still try to pedestalize you for being pretty, because pretty and beauty in and of itself is a currency. However, it has to be more to it in order to back it up and also to protect yourself. And that's why the only people that can really be on pedestals are kings and queens, and they literally have a whole kingdom, a whole army, have a whole kingdom and a whole army to protect them. And that is why I say be available for the privileges, but reject the pedestal. A lot of what people are putting themselves on is a pedestal. And how you know it's a pedestal is because a lot of people, the average everyday person, they don't really know what to do with pretty for real like that. They really don't. And a lot of people who have the pretty, you don't know what to do with yourself. This is why I say that you have to have a level of acumen. You have to have a level of strategy. Being pretty without a strategy is literally like bringing a knife to a gunfight. You're going to need a little bit more. And here's the thing. That's why you have to create opportunities for yourself that cannot be taken away from you. Anybody can be knocked off a pedestal. A pedestal always has to be defended. A privilege is something that can be earned, and it has a little bit more of a layer of protection around it. And like I said, a societal condition, there's a little bit more agreement when it comes to privileges than it is to pedestalization. There's more of a target on a pedestal, which is what I'm trying to make the distinction of, is a pedestal and a pretty. Y'all are all about, y'all don't want pretty privilege, y'all want pretty pedestals. But you need to, if you're smart, you need to accept the privileges, create the privileges, but reject the pedestal. Another reason how think about the term privilege in society. We can talk about rich privilege, white privilege, all these type of privileges until we blue in the face and how it's not right and it's a disparity. But guess what? Then people still got the privileges because it is more protected. There is more of an agreement around privileges versus a pedestal can be targeted and you can be knocked off of a pedestal. So reject the pedestal, have some strategy about yourself, create lasting privileges by having your own, being strategic. A recent example for me, the way I feel like pretty privilege translates is I was doing an event and then there was a barbershop next door to the event space, and I was looking all nice, I was dressed up, I was selling my candles and everything like that. And I went in there and I brought my candles and I started talking to some of the men. I'm like, hey, we have an event next door, I'm selling candles and everything like that. And then I told them, I said, I'm a woman, uplift me. And they all laughed. And then like 5 men in there bought my candles and one man bought 2 of my candles. I went up to myself, I introduced myself to the owner. I said, hello sir, how are you today? I have commandeered your place of business for my own profitable gain. So I just wanted to introduce myself and be respectful and, say, how are you? And he said, oh no, it's fine, you're good, do your thing. And, they bought my candles and they came over to the event and brought more people over there to, buy more candles and everything like that. And that is how you can use pretty privilege. But at the same time is I was already set up. I already literally had a business. I had a product, a quality product that I can offer them. They can touch it, they can see it, they can feel it, they can say, oh, okay, cool. They can look at me and say, all right, she's got herself together. Was it the product? Was it the pretty? That was the finishing touch in detail. A lot of people might say, oh, you were just able to do that because you're pretty. Great. But also prior to that of me just showing up and being pretty, I had taken steps to develop myself, to develop a business, to develop a product, to have an event so that there was something of value, not to cross the line, because that's where there's a fine line between what do you bring to the table besides just being pretty. I'm not a part of that. That's not what I'm saying, because pretty is what pretty does and pretty is for pretty's sake. But at the same time, you definitely have to have a little bit more for it to actually be a privilege versus it can be a pedestal. If I would have presented my product to those men and they didn't want to buy it, no problem. There's no pedestal that you can knock me off of, because I can just go take it and I can place it in front of the next person and they will get it. And that is the difference between having something that is solidified, that is a true privilege that you create for yourself, but also the same way it's like interest, privileges can compound. And that's why over here, what signature women do to invest in themselves, to compound the privileges that they get out of life, but always have the mindset of you're getting to where you're going. You're not trying to do pretty privilege just for the sake of being in people's faces, just for the sake of saying that you know a person. Rich people and get in their lives because they're degenerate too, they're crazy too, they're violent too, all of these different type of weird things. And I'm not saying that as a scare tactic. I'm just saying that as because we are in a different age and a different day as women, to where we can think in a whole 360. We need to be like a little bit more holistic. Whatever you have you're pretty for, define the privileges on your own terms, not based on what the next woman is doing, not based off of what social media is feeding you. There are a tons of different ways that you can use your pretty privilege. I never told you to sit in somebody's face and, just let them shower you with this and that, though you can. I've had that happen before, and I'm always accept my gifts and my offerings and everything like that, but I have a strategy and a mentality behind it, and I'm not letting that whole idea of pretty privilege to put me in a bubble to make me. I'm making myself, and I'm positioning myself, and I'm using my pretty to put myself in a place of privilege that nobody can take away from me. And that's what I want y'all to know today. Like, pretty privilege is petty, okay, if you are not using it for a purpose, and if you are not exercising it in the right way. And over here we're gonna do it the right way, because we are signature women, and this is Kiya Karimu, and I am not an influencer, y'all, okay? I might tell you a joke, but I will never tell you a lie. So we're gonna get it together over here, okay? So let me know what y'all think of this topic. Is it relatable to you? Have you observed the conversation of pretty privilege? Do you like it? Do you think it's a little bit strange? Do you think there are some things missing from the conversation? Do you yourself experience pretty privilege, and how are you using it? And after seeing this video, do you feel like there are ways that you can up your game? Do maybe you think it's superficial and a conversationless conversation? I really would like to know down below. Please, give me a comment. Let me know what you think on this topic. But the main takeaway is use your pretty to position yourself, and that position is not to be first in line to deal with Daquan's demons. I love y'all. Thank y'all so much, as always, for tuning into this channel. Please go ahead and give me a like, leave me a comment down below, and subscribe. Go ahead and hype it if you like it, and I will catch y'all in my next video. Bye.